Subhash, I don't know if you follow this or not, but I'm a big fan of current news lah. Global news. Very often, nearly every day lah, except of course on Sunday, because Sunday is day of rest. Every day in the morning, early morning, because I wake up really early, 6 o'clock. I switch on the news, global news. Plus, I also do it in the evening. And the reason why I do this, I want to explain, is because there's a lot of things happening globally in the automotive scene that is shared in the news because it's newsworthy. When car companies move into new generation powertrains, when there are factory closures, when there are new generation batteries coming out, when there are new generation, I don't know, infotainment systems, whatever. Also when there are recalls. And there are recalls, very important. They bring up the news. So I follow this news, and since COVID, I noticed. Actually, it happened before COVID, lah. You'll see world leaders, the European Union, all the leaders in the European Union, they'll have meetings and gatherings and big discussions, not about anything but climate change. And when they talk about climate change, they always talk about clean air, reducing carbon emissions. The automotive segment needs to rethink their powertrain, the move for electric cars, and then of course, which they started doing these strict guidelines for car companies to go all electric by a certain date,
Yes.
which a lot of them followed. And here's the funny thing. I don't see any of these world leaders or these EU leaders driving an electric car. They arrive in a big gas guzzling car or a hybrid.
Yes.
At the best, it's a luxury hybrid, which is nothing compared to what they say. But most of the time, it's a big CC gas guzzling car. Now, what's wrong with these people? They don't want to lead by example.
Exactly. It's so silly because if you think about it, these people, they have their trips, especially during these big summits. All the trips are planned in advance.
Right.
The schedule, like, okay, we're going from the hotel to the convention center to this to that. So actually, in practical ways of thinking, that's the perfect scenario for an electric car with limited range, because you know exactly how much range you need to get to that destination.
Exactly.
But because these people are very important, they think, oh, in an emergency, I must be able to travel 300, 400 kilometers away.
Run away from something.
I think that's why they think, you know what, I can't do an EV.
Yeah, but electric cars can go 400-500 kilometers.
So it's just pure hypocrisy
Yes.
at that point. And it's not like there are no luxury electric vehicles. There's an i7 now.
Exactly.
There's an EQS.
Yes. I mean, the car companies will be happy
Exactly.
to let them use their electric cars. But they fly the flag of having electric cars because they want clean air in their country. They want clean manufacturing. They don't want mining in their country. They force, South America, the African nations, China, to push and push and push for battery production, lithium ion mining, all kinds of mining, and then China builds these electric cars, and then now they put tariffs on all these cars.
Yeah, it's pure hypocrisy.
Yes.
If the objective is to convert new car buyers to electric, then it doesn't matter where the electric vehicles are coming
Exactly.
from. Just let the Chinese do the electric vehicles better than them,
Right.
and sell them for cheap. That's the objective, is to replace EVs for all the new car buyers. That's what they say their objective is.
Yes.
But now that the Chinese have caught up and exceeded the Europeans in certain aspects, they are very defensive, and they're like, oh, we must protect our home market, 50% tariff.
Right.
I find it very silly, and it's going to damage their own car brand's reputation.
Yeah, and also some of these car brands are producing in China and getting hit with tariffs.
Correct. Mini is one example.
Yes.
So I think Mini saw this whole wave of, okay, the EU is saying by a certain year, all the cars must be electric in a certain country or a certain market. So BMW Group must have looked at it and said, okay, we can experiment with Mini. Let's move production to China, where EVs are the best in the world and the cheapest. They did that. Everything was set up. The new generation electric Minis are all made in China. Suddenly, the EU turns around and says, oh wait, sorry, if you're bringing in from China, you're going to be hit by massive tariffs. So BMW Group is left with, with all this investment in China, with this whole strategy now completely backfired because there's a sudden U-turn in policy.
Right. The same thing with also, in a small way, Tesla, because they are producing in China. They thought about it earlier.
Yeah.
And then now they are also being hit with tariffs in their own home country.
Yes. And the other hypocrisy is, when you look at these tariffs, you know, Tesla compared to BYD, compared to other brands, they are all being hit with different levels of
Yes,
tariff.
different amounts.
Yeah, which I mean, under isn't there supposed to be a very like egalitarian approach
Yes.
to all this, where everybody gets hit with a very same amount of tariffs, no matter what brand you are? I don't really understand the calculation, whether they've got some weird metric happening behind the scene, but I think this whole U-turn is just it's just very hypocritical.
Yes. And then you see car manufacturers, big car manufacturers, the group, like Volkswagen Group,
Yeah.
now suddenly saying they're going to close down some factories, some historical factories. That's number one. Number two, they are now going to invest $6 billion US into new generation ICE engines, new generation petrol powered engines. Why? Because it just makes sense to have
Yeah.
better how you say consuming petrol engines
Yeah.
than to go all electric, or maybe even just hybrids, like what the Japanese have been doing successfully for so many years.
Yes. Actually,
know?
the Japanese got it right. That compromise was so correct so long ago. You know, if you sell an EV as a car company, your margins are so much thinner.
Yes.
Because the batteries are expensive. Your customers don't have to come in for servicing
Correct.
very often. It's only maybe brakes, tires, that kind of thing, fluids. And so you're losing a lot of revenue, and you're getting a customer once in 8 years, which is a terrible downgrade from your ICE way of doing things.
Correct.
So the Japanese said, okay, we can have a bit of electricity to reduce fuel consumption, but we still retain that ICE thing, which customers also want, because they want that headache-free range.
Correct.
So the Japanese got it right many, many years ago.
And now, you see, even Volvo, I remember 2 years ago going to Gothenburg, meeting with the head of Volvo, Jim Rowan, and he was shouting, waving the electric car flag very proudly. And at that time I said, okay, good, but can I ask you a question? What if you have customers who want a Volvo but do not want an electric Volvo? He said, no, I will tell you, in a year or so, everybody will want an electric Volvo. I said, not in our part of the world. In Asia, it's different. Not everybody wants an electric car. I mean, not everybody wants to be in an electric car all the time as their main vehicle. Maybe as a second vehicle or a third vehicle, yes. But he said, no, everybody's going to come because we're going to have the whole range. We're going to have from, a low-cost electric car right up to a high-end luxury car. Now, he launches a brand new XC90 plug-in hybrid. And he says we're going to keep making plug-in hybrids because our customers want it. Now, he didn't listen to me, or did he?
I think you were that factor,
A little bit of
a
a
just
factor.
waiting, should we renew the XC90?
Yes. We'll wait for DSF to come and say something.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing I've noticed is, in China, which, they're pretty good at advancing the EV initiative,
Right.
because they have so much control over purchasing decisions of their customers. A thing that they've started to do quite recently, I think, is that they group in electric vehicles with plug-in hybrid vehicles.
Correct. Electrified.
Yes, they call it NEV,
Right.
new
energy vehicle.
vehicles. Yes,
Yes.
correct. It's a term that China made up
Right.
about 5-6 years ago, and it encompasses electrified vehicles. And this is how they say they are beating the Europeans in the electric vehicle race.
In terms of numbers.
Yes, but if you actually break down the numbers, the EV sales, they're good, they're better than anywhere else in the world, but they have to fudge the numbers a little bit to get that number.
Correct.
That big NEV number.
So in the future, you're going to have a very efficient petrol-powered car.
Yes.
You're going to have a hybrid car. You're going to have a plug-in hybrid car.
Yes.
And you're going to have an electric car in nearly every car showroom. And that's the way it's going to be.
So Toyota was right, lah. Toyota was the latest to the game when it comes
Yes.
to EVs. But they always said their approach is that multi-pathway solution.
Yes.
Give customers the choice, and then you see it happening, and then you can start to play with the trends a little bit. Maybe in the next 10 years, hydrogen is going to get better.
Correct.
Maybe plug-in hybrid is going to get better. So you can actually play around slowly instead of saying 2035 hard stop, no more ICE. That doesn't make any sense. That is some political mumbo jumbo that you will U-turn on in 5 years.
So I'm hoping that enough people watch this video and tell the people at EU, start arriving and leaving conferences and meetings in an electric car to prove your point.
Correct.
If not, shut up. I'll say that. Shut up.
Yeah.
Don't make all these statements when you are not doing what you're asking other people to do.
Correct. EQS, i7, you have options. Audi also has a few.
Correct.
Go with it.